which is hosting the latest ASEAN summit. It'll be followed by an East Asia summit attended by Barack Obama. It's the American leader's second visit to Burma in 2 years, and Obama is expected to urge President Thein Sein to get political reforms back on track. Our Southeast Asia team reports now on what's changed since the reformist leader took power.
In Rangoon, the effects of the transition to democracy are clearly visible, like these construction sites and traffic jams. It's an unprecedented and chaotic economic boom. After years in humanitarian work, Robin jumped into the real estate business, an opportunity that couldn't be missed.
Well, the prices in Yangon is crazy. It's more than Paris, it's more than Manhattan, it's more than Hong Kong, it's more than Singapore. So it's too much crazy now. If there's no regulation, if there's no policy, people make money in different way. So that's why there's a lot of monkey business around the housing, house rental and this real estate.
Indeed, there is money to be made in Burma. The partial lifting of economic sanctions has seen hundreds of millions of dollars flood into the country. Money that appears to be being invested by former dictators and their cronies for record profits.
It's very difficult to understand where the money comes from or how, how investments are done in Myanmar, because it's in many terms it's still quite an intransparent market. You don't know who is investing in what. Many things are happening, I would say, like below the lines, or you don't know exactly what is happening. But of course I can understand, I can imagine that some money has been coming back from Singapore.
While a few are filling their pockets, the vast majority is yet to profit from the Burmese perestroika, a gap that is particularly striking among the ethnic minorities, who make up a third of the population. In the Far Eastern states, war continues to rage. In this Catholic church frequented by Kachin and Karen communities, the theme of today's sermon is unambiguous: the Apostle Simon, a rebel executed by the Romans.
Not directly connected, but still the condition might be almost the same, because they are also trying to release their people from the control of their article. I keep always this intention for those who are really suffering, those who have been, whose land has been occupied and who have been facing the problems, the courts and so on. They might feel that there might be a kind of what you call an equivalence or inequality regarding freedom. That's why they are fighting for this freedom.
3 years in, nothing has really changed. Ongoing ethnic conflicts, corruption, inequality. Millions of Burmese struggle to survive, increasingly skeptical of government promises that have failed to materialize.
Nothing has been really implemented except contracting for foreign direct investment and welcoming for investors. But at the same time, our country didn't make sure to protect our people. So because of this kind of openness, people are more suffered. That means when we look at from human rights point of view, the situation is worse than previous government.
But the media and civil society are almost free, one of the few tangible concessions of Burma's reformist government.
Up to last year, we don't have any improvement because many of those cases are already sent to this Myanmar Human Rights Commission.
Daw Kon Ja, one of the country's most famous activists, is meeting the newly appointed commission. She's been documenting cases of torture and disappearance attributed to the army in ethnic areas.
Quite a new subject.
This commission is the only body who can really advise the government closely.
Well, as I said, thank you for reminding us. I will ask the commission to examine, and we are a complementary sort of a process to the government procedure, and it doesn't mean that we can't do anything at all, at least because you have the moral binding force on the people, we would advise, we would recommend, we would encourage, push the government so that they will carry out the remedial action.
Much like the empty shell that is the National Human Rights Commission, Burma's transition still has a long way to go to meet the expectations of its people.
And now for more on Burma's transition to democracy, I'm joined on set by Jean-Michel Lacombe. He was France's ambassador to Burma from 2003 to 2007. Hello, thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you for calling me.
Now, in that report by Ismail Wolf, we heard various opinions on just how much has changed in the last few years in Burma. We even heard at one point that not much has changed at all. Is that what you believe? What is your take on Burma's political, their process of reform?
Well, clearly, a lot of things have changed. Remember that about 3 years ago, there was martial law, no constitution. There was a general headquarters running the country. You could be sentenced to jail 3 years, and by a simple decision of the head of the prison, you could sentence to another 3 years. Now you have a free press. The situation has definitely changed a lot. I know that some people are disappointed, but nevertheless, it's totally different.
Do you think it's just that it's a question of time, that these sorts of transitions to democracy are necessarily going to take a lot of time, especially when you're in a situation where the country is still largely ruled by generals?
Well, the international community has made a bet. Sanctions worked. Now, what we do is that the economy of the country has to be globalized. And then, if you have a new caste or a new group of people who are interested in that globalization, things will never be the same, will never go back as they were unless the unity of the country is threatened.
So because we're seeing economic reform, we saw in that report prices rising incredibly for accommodation. Do you think then that Barack Obama, who's now in Burma, shouldn't push the government too hard to reform then?
Well, the future of Burma is simply, you have a look at Thailand. What happened in Thailand is what's going to happen in Burma. I think the President of the United States will certainly ask the military to improve their style. But we are heading for election. Everything is frozen, and there won't be any big change. Now, let's see what happens in the next general election. If there is a clear-cut majority in favor of the lady, or whatever.
But Ang San Suu Chi isn't allowed to run in these elections because in the Constitution it says that because she was married to a Briton and had children of British nationality, she cannot run. What do you make of that?
Well, clearly it has been tailored, this Constitution, against her. But she's got friends and she's got a party. She can have some political clout in the new assembly. So I think that the first things to see is whether her friends will have a clear-cut majority.
Barack Obama is due to meet with her, I believe, on Friday. Does she still have much support from the US? Is that the policy of Washington to still continue supporting her?
Well, I think so, yes, definitely. But Burma is situated in a strategic place in between India and China, the two main engines of Asian economy or maybe the world economy. Therefore, well, the sooner this little economy is globalized, the better it is. I think this is the assessment. I'm not the President Obama. I think he is making maybe that assessment. Or this is what the international community or my colleagues in Rangoon are thinking.
But are there countries, do you think, in the region who are feeling threatened by Burma's development?
No, not at all. I think now that Burma is hosting the ASEAN summit, which is a few years ago, Burma was denied this role.
So that in itself is hugely significant.
Yes, so now that Burma now belongs to the community of small countries all around China who feel threatened by the power of China, whether it's right or not. But anyway, they are relying heavily on the United States.
And just how seriously, though, do you think the Burmese authorities are taking this visit by Barack Obama, and whatever he might say to them, just how seriously do they take it, do you think?
I think they will listen very carefully. When men of 120 kilos say certain things, men of 60 kilos listen.
What about the situation in Rakhine State? I mean, it's got it's gone worse in the last few years. It seems like the authorities aren't really coming through when it comes to the promises they've made on tackling that particular humanitarian crisis. What's your assessment?
Well, when the British Empire was carved up in several bits, you had Muslims in Buddhist Burma, you had Buddhists in Bangladesh, Muslim Bangladesh, and in both cases they were treated terribly badly. This is legacy of colonialism. The country in Eastern Europe went through a very careful examination of their records on human rights before entering the Council of Europe or entering EU. And I think that the same rule should apply to Burma.
So aside from perhaps human rights issues, and obviously Burma is far from the only country that has to work on that particular issue, are you positive? Are you hopeful for the future of Burma? Do you think it's on the right track, generally speaking?
Generally speaking, yes, but there is one important step. The judiciary is still very much under the control of the army. So this is not a good governance. If they want to do business, they will have to adjust. The business community, the foreign business community in the country needs a minimum of stabilities in laws. They have to fight corruption. You need a rule of law, and that still doesn't exist.
Okay, Jean-Michel Lecombe, thank you very much indeed for coming in to France 24 for our Focus segment today. And thank you for watching. We're going to take a quick break now. I'll be back in a few minutes with the headlines for you. Don't go away.